Woo! And we're live once again on another Tuesday, and I have my collaborating buddy in the house. We're just like going to get sick of each other, Annette, because we work
I don't think so.
never. We just had so much fun collaborating this week, and just by coincidence, here we are live. This was pre-planned that we did this live, so it's all blending together. So today we have an awesome topic. We're talking about building a personal brand on LinkedIn, and I have Annette. And Annette, before we get started, could you just give a little quickie intro of who you are and what you do, and then we'll just get stuck right in.
Okay. So, in a nutshell, I guess what I could say is I work with my clients to help them develop their brands because we all have a brand, whether we know it or not, and you need to be able to influence them, influence people as to what they think about you. And that starts with a resume and LinkedIn profile and goes on from there. So that's pretty much what I do.
I love it. I love it. And this is really actually very interesting for me personally, because I really wasn't aware that job seekers had brands. I've never heard of a branded resume. On your banner, you talk about an executive brand. So this is really interesting because branding, does work for business owners, but I guess it works for job seekers too. And that was just like kind of new to me. So that's really, really exciting. So maybe you could just kind of step back. Let's explain for anybody listening, and just know, job seekers, biz owners, stay, because this is applicable to all of us, and branding is so important. So, okay, so we talk about what is a brand. Well, let's start off with defining our terms. What is a brand to you, Annette?
Well, I think it's Jeff Bezos who kind of coined the phrase that your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. And I think that's a great summation because, when you're out there, whether you're a business owner, like you and me, or if you're a job seeker, people already think something about you. Some people that you work with, they may think that you're just this results driven person. Other people, I worked with people who I thought were just kind of like drones sitting in the chair, waiting for time to pass. And years ago, people would be promoted that way. If you were sitting in the chair for 5 years, you'd get promoted. But now it's so important. And LinkedIn, of course, is our face to the business world. So that is so important to your personal branding because, as you know, anybody who gets your name, whether you're a business owner or you're looking for a job and someone's saying, hey, Annette's good. Why don't you contact her? They go to your LinkedIn profile. But the thing is, your resume, you have to think of it that way as well. And so many people think of the resume as an employment history, what I've done and sort of the past. And today's resumes, so I'm sure are really marketing tools that are designed to grab the attention of potential employers and recruiters and getting them to want to contact you.
Perfect. And when you think about it, when you think of like a recruiter or a hiring manager, and they have it's probably like no other depressing image than somebody sitting there with like 200 resumes to go through, and you're just like, and you just think they're flat pieces of paper, and they're going through them. And you want to have what part of your personality coming through. And I think that that's probably maybe the biggest danger, and why somebody needs somebody to help them with resumes is we think we have to talk like robots or really smart. And we use these succeeded in my you're almost like lawyer speak. And you're just like, well, who would want to hire this person? If you're hiring somebody to be like your graphic designer, you don't really want them talking like an accountant, or, your personality has to come through. True.
Oh, absolutely. And one of the best lessons, I was actually an English major in college. And one of the best lessons I ever had is a teacher tell me, never use a quarter word when a nickel word will do. So, people do that. As you say, they want to sound smart, or intelligent or educated or whatever, and they look in the thesaurus to find a word that, is going to make them sound good. And, you want to have everything in plain English. I mean, the same as your LinkedIn profile. You want to, and have your resume be able to be picked up and read by anyone, because as you say, people have stacks of resumes. I've talked to recruiters lately. They say, the response to a job ad is 250 plus people that are responding to their ad. So if you can imagine that. So you want to have a resume that's going to grab their attention immediately, and, not bore them to death, right?
Right. You can't bore them into hiring you. That's just not gonna work. That's
No,
not gonna
not
work.
well.
So let's talk about what are some of the things. So let's just like focus on your LinkedIn profile as a
Okay.
starting position. So if you have, we all have LinkedIn profiles. So where are some of the areas that your brand can leap out and you can be different from, like, not just another boring LinkedIn profile?
Well, I will say that your headshot needs to be, you preferably smiling. But I know that that's something that recruiters tell me it's one of the first things that they see when they're sourcing candidates on LinkedIn, in the recruiter, sort of the recruiter function that, I don't have access to. They tell me that's important. But
Mm.
I have to tell you, and this is kind of right up your alley. Um, I was asking Tina, who is a friend of ours, a recruiter, about headshots and cover stories, and she told me that it's hardly anyone that she finds on LinkedIn has a cover story. But if they
It's
do,
amazing.
it's a
It's
great
amazing.
way to stand out. And, I am like you and many others who think that LinkedIn, you really need to take advantage of every single feature function, I should say, that they have available to you. And cover story is, can help you make stand out, show your personality. Obviously, right? In so many ways, a cover story just to make you stand out.
Agreed, agreed. And you just kind of think about it, it's like, here's this opportunity that in 30 seconds or less, somebody can kind of just get a temperature check on who you are as a person. And maybe that's what's intimidating for people. They think, oh my gosh, I'm going to be judged. But if you think about it, if you were, if you liken it to like if you were fishing, right? You wouldn't just be throwing your hook off the boat. You would want to put some bait. And to me, your LinkedIn cover story, that is the bait. It very quickly people get a feel for you. And instead of being, intimidated that, oh, I'll be judged, I liken it of if somebody sees who I am in my cover story and they just go, then great, move
Yep.
along, because I'm not right for you and you're not right for me. So let's not waste our time. So I think it's a great sorting tool.
I love that you said that, and that's part of the reason that people do not have a headshot on their LinkedIn profile, or they have one that's a decade old. So when an employer meets them on a video interview, or someone, if you're a business owner, you meet somebody at a conference, and they don't recognize you. I mean, I'm sure that's happened to you. I know it's happened to me. People have old photos or photos that are so photoshopped it doesn't look anything like you.
Like the glamour shots.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I have to just tell you the worst shot that I ever saw when I was a headshot when I was recruiting and I was sourcing candidates and I came upon a profile and it was a woman's profile and her headshot was her in her bridal gown with the veil. I mean, the veil and the gown, like you could see it was cut off, but she was holding the bouquet. And I thought, if she thinks that's appropriate, I don't think I want to introduce her to my client. So I kind of passed on that. But people are I know, but people are so worried about the isms. There's isms out there. People think you're too old. They think you're too young. They think you're too ethnic, not ethnic enough. And you can only control what you can control. You can't control who you are. And as you say, if they look at you and they say, Annette's not for me. I don't like her for whatever reason. Maybe I don't like blonde hair or people who wear glasses. Then, it's better to let them self-select out and,
Yep.
find your people.
Yep, yep. I remember a long time ago, I learned a business lesson and it was like SW tripled or something. And it was like, some will, some won't. So what next? And literally just take that and tell people, move along. There's so many people here. So I liken it to, I'm looking for the people that are looking for me. And if we're a good mix, that's great. If we're not, I bless you and send you on your merry way, and I'll still give you a win. So that's how I look at it. So it's good stuff. Good stuff. So we've got some comments. So do you mind if we take a couple minutes
Oh, I
and
love it. I see some of our friends out there. Hello, hello. Thank you for coming.
we have a lot of comments. We have a lot of comments. So we always have Jeff Young. He's my most ardent supporter. I just absolutely love Jeff. Highlighted him yesterday. He's just one of the best people out there. Woohoo! Jillian and Annette show. I see people are not getting sick of us, Annette. They're loving it. We're on video. We're PDFs. We're now live. We're just like 3 pieces of content in 2 days. Time to learn about personal brand. Oh, I like this. Be real and never doubt. That's a great acronym, Jeff. I love that.
Yeah, I love it too. I love it too. And it gets away from that authentic that we all hate, right? Be real, be a human.
Yes. It's so funny. It's like authentic. It's like nobody likes that this week. It's just like the word is out. The word is out. It's nearly time. Oh, that's fun. That's that's a really great comment. Looking forward to this. Woohoo, woohoo. And we have Diana joining us from YouTube. And it's always fun when we get our YouTube folks in here too, so that we can show either or, which makes you realize the reach that these lives can have. We'd go to Facebook, but I don't really do Facebook anymore. So it's okay. So thank you for joining us. Hi. Hello, ladies. We got the video king in the house today. Nick is awesome. He is just, some of his LinkedIn cover stories, like all of his videos are truly great. But some of his LinkedIn cover stories, like, my gosh, they're like Academy Award winning.
I know. He sets a really high bar. So
yeah,
but he is
LinkedIn
amazing.
advanced.
And so generous. If you're not following Nick, follow him because he is so generous with the information he shares.
He does awesome stuff, guys. Awesome stuff. And then we have, of course, I'm sure we probably met through John, and it's mandatory. Every LinkedIn Live, I have to shout out to John, who's busy cooking. He's always cooking at this time of day. Hi, Jillian and Annette. Love you both. And this is one of my favorite topics. It's so true. And that's actually where I learned a lot about branding, was through John's book, Content DNA, because I think I'm one of the typical people that kind of thought brand was all about your logo and your color scheme and the font you used. And I think I kind of went down that slippery slope and just went, I don't know, I like pink. I like pink and purple. I didn't really think about it too much. But when I read Content DNA, I really liked the concept that it's like, hone in on that one thing you want to be known for. And mine's video easy peasy. Like, people will maybe forget my name, but they kind of go, oh, she's that easy peasy gal. Maybe that's not a good thing.
It's so true. And, I've learned a lot from John's book myself. I've read it and reread it, and I'm looking forward to the next one coming out. But it's so funny you say that easy peasy, because even if I'm watching television and I hear easy peasy, because people will say that, I'm like, Jillian.
And that's good. And that really, and it's like with John, relentlessly helpful, which, by the way, is the name of his next book. So, it's interesting, but that is his brand, is being relentlessly helpful. And he said people echoed it back to him. So when people start echoing it back to you, you've really, hit on the one to go with. Yep, Annette, it's your reputation, and it is everywhere. And that is so important, that your reputation is about branding. That's an important part. And you think about all the different things, like, what are you known for doing? What's your reputation? Maybe you're honest, maybe you're dependable, or you're the one that gets things done. These can be different things. So, when you're trying to discover what your brand is, one thing that I've told people is go to your friends and your colleagues and ask them, when you think of me, what kind of things come to mind? Because sometimes it's not what you think it is. You might think,
Mhm.
oh, it's about, I do this. And people like, actually, I don't really think of you in that concept of all.
That's true. One of the questions that I ask all of the clients that I work with is, what do you think of you and what do others think of you? And some of them actually go around and they ask people, they say, oh, people say that I'm this and this and this, I'm helpful, or I'm, teamwork, or something like that. And, it's really good to know that, but it's a great idea to ask your friends what they
Yes.
think, colleagues.
Absolutely, absolutely. The resume is irrelevant when stacked against a personal brand. Wow, wow, that's a strong comment. What do you think about that, Annette? What does that make you think of?
Well, it makes me think that, there's that whole, I think, know, like, and trust
Mm,
factor, and that's one of the things that I think of, and that's where I think the LinkedIn profile, cover story, recommendations, when people are doing, getting referrals, I think that's where a lot of that plays in. I'm thinking that might be what Nick is getting at, because you know your resume is words on a piece of paper. And
mm,
one of the things that I will mention about a resume, and just briefly, is that people think about writing things like exceeded results, surpassing campaign results, successful campaigns. And one of the ways that you can show that, and sort of demonstrate, if your brand is getting things done, then you need to have examples on your resume and LinkedIn profile of you getting things done. And
mm.
so I think that that can be part of it.
So those can be very hollow. If you're using statements that are vague,
It's
exceeded
fluff.
expectations, it's like, with what?
Yeah.
Compared to who? So get those specifics of, like, I took a team of, 2 people and grew it into a team of 200 salespeople, that are out, with 16 million revenue.
Oh,
That's specifics. That's
yes, and
specifics.
absolutely. And if you're able to go and build your team by stealing talent from your competition, even better, even
Yes.
better. It's just that, I mean, now that says something about you. It
Yes.
says something about you. How you
Yes.
do things says something about you. And you mentioned sales. And even if you're on your LinkedIn profile and someone is looking there to learn more about you, you can say that you're surpassing all these quotas and beating and blah, blah, blah. But, are you selling like the easiest thing to sell? Or are you
Exactly.
selling something that's difficult, and how it is you're doing that? So
Exactly.
so when you're thinking of LinkedIn profile, hi Danielle. When you're thinking of the LinkedIn profile too, Jillian, what's your take on the background photo? I mean, I think that's pretty important.
Oh, the banner
Yeah,
at the top.
banner.
I think the banner at the top is really important. I think it's really important because, to me, it's the ultimate call to action. And of course, now you have your LinkedIn lives on it and everything too, which is really important. But again, it's another way to make you stand out. So you want that quick visual, because to me, it's kind of like we're in this age now where people are lazy. They don't want to read a lot of stuff. And so you want these banners that immediately, are striking, jump out at you. That's why the worst thing I ever see is somebody using, like, the default banner, and you're just like, oh, okay, then you're like, just,
Generic.
you're generic. You don't want to be, I always think of poor Kevin Turner, and now I identify him with the milk carton, but it's like, you don't want to be the face on the milk carton, this generic who am I type of thing. You want to be distinct with your colors, with everything that's about you, and it's a great opportunity to sum it up. And one of the things that I see that a lot of people do wrong is they're not getting it, that it has to be good for mobile and desktop. I have seen so many people that, if you look it on mobile, they've messed up. They've got too much text. They have text that's like, you'd have to be like a magnifying glass to read it. So you have to be cognizant of everything that goes into it. So what are your thoughts in that with the banner?
The same thing. You have to make sure that it's readable on mobile and your desktop. And you also, that's another opportunity to set yourself apart. And as we've been talking about, I think that's kind of the sum of it. You need to set yourself apart from other people, because whether you are a business owner or you are looking for another job, if you're a business owner, there's tons of resume writers. We all kind of do the same thing. There's a lot of people that are LinkedIn coaches, and they all kind of do the same thing. But how you do it, the way you do it, things like that are what separates you from other people.
I agree. I agree. I agree. And Jeff is saying he loves his cover story. Thanks me for doing it. And Jeff's cover story is an example of somebody that, we did a little bit different. It's kind of pictures, and it just gives you an idea that your cover story, it can be a traditional talking head. Yours is very nice, Annette. It's because you come across as, there's that word, authentic, but it comes across as being very authentic, very real. I think that we get a sense of who you are, how you speak, how you look, the words that you use, and you just come across as very friendly and very approachable. And I think that that's probably what you were aiming for. And so our cover stories can be so many different things, but I always suggest to people, start at the beginning. Like, don't feel you have to do the most fanciest cover story out there. Start with something basic and just know you can change it. We both changed ours up over the holiday. You took it as a challenge after hearing Claire and I talk about it on a live. And it was very sweet and lovely. And then now you're like, okay, it's 2022. Yours is updated and refreshed for the new year. So I think that's really good. So Nick says, how they feel about you? No better way to do that than video. And he's so right, because, resumes are awesome. And of course we have to have them. And it's such an integral part of the job search process.
It's a different tool.
Yeah, it's a tool. But I think our videos allow us to come across, and so that when people do meet you, either on an interview, a Zoom call, whatever, they're immediately comfortable. And it's like you get out of that awkward stage, because so many people, this is what you always want to hear. You're just like your video.
Yep.
That's what you want to hear. If you don't hear that, then you got a disconnect going on. So we don't want to be that person.
Exactly. When people meet you, they want to be, you want them to be the person they think you are. And
absolutely.
And everything does. I mean, the colors, and even, when you're talking about the banner on your LinkedIn profile, your about section, that's another great place to provide some insight into who you are. I think somebody asked something about the about section, and it's a great way, I think, whether you're a business owner or a job seeker, to give people a little insight into who you are. Why you do what you do? How do you do it? What excites you? And tell a little bit of your story that sets you apart, right? And stay away from that third person boring bio.
It's like, don't talk about yourself in the third person. That's the worst. That's the worst. And another thing is your headline. It's like your headline follows you all over LinkedIn. So, if you just write that you're a sales manager, it's like, that doesn't tell me anything about you. I like headlines that actually somehow are distinct and make me go, who's this person? They sound interesting. I want that. They sound interesting. Somebody that's like, and I've seen some people that's like, I want to steal their headlines. They're so good. I don't, but they're so brilliant. I just go, I want to know this person just because they have such a cool headline. I don't care what they do. I don't care where they live. They are just cool. They're very, very cool.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I've gone through a bunch of changes myself over the last few months, and I think they're working for the better.
Do you want to take this one? Where does one see the cover story in the about section? You want to take that, Annette?
Oh, okay. So the cover story is people talk about it as being the Harry Potter effect. Now,
Love it.
I don't know Harry Potter, but what happens if somebody clicks on your profile from behind your headshot? There's a little, like on mine, you click on my profile and you see, hi, blah, 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 blah. When you don't hear my voice, but you see my face and you can click on it and hear me talking to you for, I think they say 30 seconds, but you really only have 29 seconds, right, Jillian?
Right, right. If you do it within LinkedIn using the LinkedIn app, you can get the full 30 seconds, but there's no option to do captions. So many of us do our videos outside of LinkedIn, have captions put on, which are
Yes.
subtitles down at the bottom, which help with people who are deaf, hard of hearing, English as a second language, etc. And so if you're going to do it outside of LinkedIn, keep it to 28 to 29 seconds, or else you're going to be really upset when you go to upload it.
Upload it. And and it's so true. And also you have to remember that a lot of people, they're scrolling LinkedIn while they're at work,
Yes.
so you want to make sure that you're going to be able to for them to understand what you're saying. And I have an iPhone. I use clips. I learned to use InShot, which I learned from Claire. I think Claire
Mhm.
Carroll and you on
Yep.
your LinkedIn
Yep.
Live you did together. And you can do that, without showing your face. But I don't know what to use if you're on Android, and I know you do.
I have a whole article about it. So Ken, I'm going to drop a link to an article that tells you everything you'd want to know about LinkedIn cover story and what to use for iPhone, Android, et cetera, tips and orientation and all sorts of stuff. So that's where you get the cover story is. So look at Annette's profile, look at my profile, look at our picture and see how it changes, and then click and you can watch the video. And then the about section is that first blurb on your profile that you
Yep.
can kind of like say who you are,
Mhm.
what you do, who you serve. And that's essentially, and as Annette says, don't be that person that talks about themselves in the third person. It makes you look a little bit weird if
You
you
know,
do.
I, LinkedIn used to call the about section, they used to call it the summary. And so
Ah,
remember, it used to be the summary, and then they changed it to about section. And and people do tend to, sometimes they put nothing there, or they have a couple of big thick paragraphs. And so you really want to have yes, that's it exactly, Ken. And so you want to have short paragraphs, right? Like I mean, like 3 lines, paragraphs,
yes,
bullets,
lots of
things like
white
that,
space.
so
Lots of
that
white
people
space.
make people want to read about you. Because nothing, when you look, people have like big chunks of text. Who wants to read that? Always make everything easy, right?
Easy peasy.
Easy. Easy peasy. Put the cover story up there so people get to see you in action. Put a banner up so people understand a little bit about what you do, whether you're, in corporate or you're a business owner. Tell a bit of your story in the about section and your headline. Give some information there too.
Yes.
Make it easy for people, because I agree with you, Jilly. People are lazy. And I hope people don't hate us both for saying that. And they have the attention span of like a gnat. So it's just, you need to grab people's attention.
Exactly, exactly. And it's interesting that Ken brought this up about the audio aspect, because there's also the pronunciation, which is a different thing on your
Yes.
profile, and that has to be done through your phone. You can't do that through the desktop version. And a lot of times people who are using LinkedIn on the desktop, they don't even know you can do that. But there's this like little microphone. So if you go to either Annette or my profile, you'll see there's a little microphone. If you click on that, it can be, I have an interesting name, Jillian. It's British. But people in the United States, which is where I live, they don't know how to pronounce it. So they think it's Gillian. It's not Gillian, it's Jillian. And so I actually tell people how to pronounce my name. But if you have like a name like Ken, It's like you probably can take advantage of that. I forgot how long you have. It's like what, 8 seconds, 10 seconds. It's not a lot of
It's under,
time.
I think it's under 10 seconds. I'm
Under
not
10
sure, but
seconds.
people do it in so many. I have something up there. I forget what it is, but I've heard of people putting like little drum solos or little
Oh
bits of
yeah.
music on their cover, not on their cover story, on the audio, just for, to be different, you know?
Yes, yes. There's one gentleman in particular, Dave Officer, who he has the most amazing audio pronunciation because he sings his and he's got like a whole musical accompaniment. And it was just like I went, okay, he wins. He just wins. He wins the prize. He wins the prize. But he is an artist. He's graphic designer. So it's no surprise. Again, that's a part of your brand. And same with LinkedIn cover stories. I always talk about David Breyer because he has the most amazing LinkedIn cover story. He's hopping out of planes and riding motorcycles and things are, it looks like Mission Impossible. And you can kind of go, well, what's all with that? Well, that's his brand. His brand is about branding. He's from New York. He's, he is a brand king. He's written a book about it and all sorts of stuff. So it's no surprise that he has such an elaborate cover story because it matches his brand. So,
Yes.
those are the kind of thing. Make sure that you're on brand so that your cover story, your headline, your audio, it all goes together because it wouldn't make sense if you're doing elaborate things and, you're an accountant, but you're jumping out of planes.
Exactly. Exactly.
It might not match.
And Nick does those too. He has
Yes, he does.
those really cool,
He did one where the guy was underwater.
Yes. I think that's Alex. That's Alex because, it's so funny because you're talking about people with videos and so many of these people too, you find them on TikTok and you follow them there. And, it's just really, really interesting, the videos, but yeah, it's, you're right. It is, you need to stick to your brand. Now, you wouldn't catch me jumping out of a plane anyway, but it wouldn't really be on brand for me to have like a video of me cooking, even though it would be different. It doesn't really tell you anything about me, except I guess that I like to cook. So
exactly. So Danielle is giving us the tip that your QR code on top of your resume, it's a great tip. It's a great tip to do that.
Oh, cool.
Your QR code, I've seen a lot of people putting their QR codes on their banner. And if you think about it, nowadays you can take your phone and you can actually scan. You just use the camera app of like our phones are so smart now that literally it can go through a computer screen. So if you had some sort of like, your link tree or, whatever you had, and you wanted someone to get more information, go to your website, whatever, you can put QR codes on your LinkedIn banner as well. So QR codes became incredibly relevant now. Like COVID gave it life.
I didn't know that. I had no idea that you could do that through the computer screen. I mean, I see it in magazines and stuff all the time because I still read magazines. I like to hold the paper and turn the pages, but I didn't know you could do that through the computer screen.
So we're at the end of our 30 minutes. It goes like that. We'll continue to address the comments. We'll go back into the comments afterwards. So Annette, I'd just love to know, is there any sage advice you'd like to leave everybody with building a personal brand on LinkedIn? What's your takeaway?
The simplest thing that you and I have been talking about and people have been sharing in the comments, know who you are and be you. And just, make sure that you are the same you everywhere and not some kind of a persona, but actually you. That would be my suggestion.
I love it. And I look at your little doggies on those pictures behind you.
They look like me, right?
They do. They got their little glasses on. They're adorable. So Annette, thanks.
Oh, it's been such a pleasure. It's always such a treat to chat with you. So, I wish I could do this more often just so we could hang out together.
It's fun. It's very, very fun. So, okay, everybody, we'll sign off here. We'll see you back next week. It's, I think, February. I don't know. We're going on to a new month now. It's like it's a blur. Feels like January just went zipping by.
I know it did.
But it's great. It's great. So thank you, Annette, for coming on. Thank you, everybody who joined us today live, later on in the replay, whatever. It's great. So thank you very much. And we'll see y'all next week. Bye, everybody.
Bye.